Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the VRCade Podcast, the podcast for arcades by arcades. We will be revealing some Plush Rush gameplay, which is a 8-player family-friendly co-op game. So today I have Mr. Chan with us, who is the ops manager at Brilliant, and we have Simon, who is the lead game designer for Plush Rush. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Doing very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Excellent.
for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. Everyone's really interested to find out more about the game. So before we start, just thought I'd quickly let everyone know that the Rotten Apple Halloween update is now live. So that's in arcades and on Steam. So go update your game, get some friends together and give it a go. So Mr. Chan, you will be asking the questions today. So I will pass it on to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Quite excited. I hope I'm doing my job good so that Serge doesn't fire me in the first episode. But yeah, let's go. So Simon, I have a few questions first of all directly to you, if you don't mind. And I just wanted to go ahead and ask you, what was your first experience in the world of VR, and how was the work in the beginning of this virtual reality company that you were co-founder of?
Right. So, hello everyone. I'm the game designer at Brilliant. And actually, to answer your question, the first time I experienced VR was also in an arcade. So it wasn't like I bought a VR headset for home and tried it there, but it was a friend of mine got a voucher for a VR arcade, and we went there. And there was also like no question about what we were going to play. It was like, okay, obviously we're going to play the zombie shooter. So it was like a free roam VR co-op zombie shooter where we were like playing, I don't know, half an hour story. And that was like a lot of fun. I remember just being very amazed by how immersive it is and how and we never had the idea to even like go through a wall. So yeah, that was my first experience with VR. And like sometime later, we founded Brilliant and started like developing our own game, which also was like a VR zombie shooter. Because I don't know, it's just kind of, there's something about the gore and like the zombies attacking you. It's kind of like you're like embodied in this world and they might be behind you, and like you can actually look around the corner and just shoot one direction, look at another direction, stuff that's not possible in classic computer games. And yeah, that's kind of how it started.
We're just getting a bit of an echo. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo, so I don't know if it's open in the background.
Is it better now? Test.
It's okay. Roland's on it, so yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we should be fine in a second. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, Mr. Chan.
Right. So your first experience was actually in a VR arcade and not with your own VR headset at home. Yep. But still, I mean, do you now have a headset at home? What other VR games are you enjoying?
I mean, I work with a VR headset every day, so yes, I do have a headset at home. Currently it's the Quest 2. I'm thinking about upgrading to the Quest 3 just because working with it every day, probably even a small difference might be worth it. And after like 8 hours, but like many times it's way more of spending the day in VR, I don't normally come home and play more VR. But there's obviously a couple games I enjoy. Just very simple games like Beat Saber and Pistol Whip. I played very early, and then Until You Fall is a nice like roguelite, and yeah, Half-Life Alyx, some games like that.
Is there a song that you can play on Expert Plus on Beat Saber?
I mean, now you're overselling me because I would say I'm more like on the expert level. It's not like I'm playing it that often. So, but I would say expert, I could play most songs.
Oh, that sounds great. Okay. Serge, did you want to chime in before I continue with my next question?
Just that I've tried Beat Saber once and I didn't do very well on easy or something. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it's not that easy as it looks, right? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we were on the topic of Brilliant at the end of the last question. And so how did the idea of the company come about, and how did all of it start?
So, I mean, actually, we were with a lot of the people that we are also doing Brilliant now. We were creating escape rooms before, and we were liking this whole like creating experiences for people, and in being in this entertainment industry where it's like it's pretty honest industry, right? It's all about just creating fun, and there's no secret agenda. And that was like always enticing, but then we were looking for something that's more global. An escape room, you normally build it up in one space. It's very physical. You can only have it in one spot. While, for example, Rotten Apple now can be played all over the world in so many countries. And that's kind of what also was like inspiring us to start working with VR.
That is actually a great point. How does it feel to have now be part of a game that is played worldwide for many minutes during the day? How does it make it feel that you created it in a small office somewhere in a small country, and yeah, now you have a game that will be played worldwide?
I mean, it's not like I think about that a lot, like in my everyday life, but it is pretty insane to create something, and also like sometimes feel a bit like an artist, or like I have this vision of what it could be or what it should be, and then there's also this struggle of obviously it's never actually getting there 100%. And then you need to send it out into the world, and there's other people playing it, and just watching them sometimes can be, or like especially the first couple of times when people play a new game, it's like a bit tense because like, oh, are they gonna like it? What are they gonna think about it? But with Rotten Apple, and we have our own arena here in Zurich where we develop the games in the back. And I've heard so many times people playing Rotten Apple and then just like screaming around, and it's like hard to work even because they're just screaming around like crazy. And that's obviously always like super, that's a great feeling to have hear just the reactions.
Yeah.
What's the craziest reaction you've seen then?
I mean, we had literally people getting scared and running into a wall. So there's like in our arena, there's like multiple stains of like controllers or headset hitting the wall. Unfortunately, there was like never actually an injury, but except for the hardware. But so yeah, there's some pretty insane reactions.
Yeah. And on that note, you actually have a master's degree in psychology. So how does that help you to design the games, that people get excited or even horrified during the games? And yeah, how does it help in your everyday life now?
I would say it like manifests like in two ways. One is in kind of the thinking about experiences, like always thinking about what experience am I trying to create and how can I create this? Like if a game should be tense and suspenseful, or if it's gonna be funny and light. Obviously everything needs to support the feeling you want to create in the end. So it's always thinking about the experiences. And then the other part is like the more technical, I guess, like understanding how to test, how to get data in a like it's hard. It's like a soft science in a way, right? You don't have like hard data that you can just measure and then you can validate it and calculate it. It's like you need to talk to people and you need to observe people, and from that you need to figure out what you want to do next, right? So it's kind of like this getting feedback, observing people play, and figuring out like what they struggle with and what they find funny, or like and so on.
And what do you think? What were your learnings? So, what basically or generally, what does make a great arcade game, or what are you looking for in your games? So, how do you get or try to get the people excited?
Ooh. I mean, what makes a great arcade game? That's a pretty good question, and it's like there's many answers to that. So, because we are like our game, we are creating games for arcades, and the arcades then need it for their customers. So in a way, we are creating a product for two clients. We need to make the arcades happy, and then we need to make their customers happy, because what arcades want is like happy customers that come back. They want customers that pick their arcade because they saw this crazy game they want to play. But then we also need to make sure that the arcades have a game that's easy to manage and like kind of hands-free, like turnkey. So like a yeah. And so that's a very different, often that's like a super different lens to look at your game, and it requires very different things. So a game that's interesting for the end customer, that needs to just kind of jump out at them. Like if they see on a website, if they see 5 games or 10 games, that game needs to kind of like catch their attention, right? So that's not even about what they experience while they play. It's more also about like what they imagine about it when they see the trailer or the pictures. So there, we also saw in our own arcade that some games that, for example, have like some element that people already know and understand, that works well, because then they have like something to attach it to, and it's not just like a random title with like a random generic picture, and people are like, I don't know what it's going to be like to play that, right? And then to make the arcades happy, it's a lot about giving them flexibility to change how long the game lasts, like how difficult it is to be able to launch it quickly and stuff like that. So yeah, and we're trying to cater both, while sometimes it's not easy, because some people want to have like gamers want to have like a super complex game, right? It has like a lot of depth, but that's not necessarily what arcades want, because they want it to be easy to put people in and out. So there's like always a bit of a compromise.
Yeah.
That's also a good point, right? I'm sorry, Serge.
No, go on.
You have your customers in the arcade are also on completely different experience levels. So you have your first-time customers that never even had a VR headset on, but you also have the customers that maybe have their own VR headsets at home. And ideally, you also create a game that can keep both of these groups happy. So that's definitely not easy to consider it in the game design as well.
I mean, there's a couple things you can do. A simple one is obviously just to put in multiple difficulties, so that the beginners just have more slack, and for a pro it would be very hard to die even in that difficulty. So we also learned with like Rotten Apple, for example, that easy should be like really easy, and then you can do like hard can be really hard, but you can actually like, so then you make sure that even the pros are not bored, and even the beginners are not like overwhelmed. So yeah, that's like in one way to do it. The other way is also just to know your like customer, or know your market, because like we're not trying to create necessarily games that are for the home market where players expect like 50 hours of fun and super deep games. We know that for those games where you need to play like you played for like dozens of hours, maybe just the first hour you would just spend learning the game. If you go to an arcade, have a play session of 1 hour, and at the end you just learned the game, that wouldn't be like a great experience, right? So that's not the kind of game we create, for arcades.
Yeah, some arcades do like 10-minute sessions, or even like 15, 20, 30-minute sessions. So good thing about Rotten Apple is it's just you can just pick up and play it. A lot of the feedback that I get is really good, like the reloading and just how easy it is just to jump in and out for beginners. So yeah, that's very important with arcades as opposed to people gaming at home.
Yeah.
And before we continue, I also have a funny story because sometimes I'm involved in the QA, quality assurance of the game, right? And actually, at the beginning of the Hell mode, when Simon created it, it was so damn hard that you cannot get through the first 2 or 3 levels. And at one point, you were just stuck, and Simon was devilishly having fun and was laughing his A off, and I was struggling so much. So how does that make you feel, Simon? That you have people suffering from your design choices?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that it doesn't give me like some pleasure to sometimes like push it, like to see like where can you go, like how hard can you make it. But it's also like the funny thing is like we play our own games a lot, obviously, because we need to test them. We test them almost daily, and at some point the problem is more like that we get too good and we don't understand anymore how even the simple difficulty might be, the easy difficulty might be too hard, right? For someone who's never been in VR and has maybe not even played much other games. Even what for us is like super obvious might be like very hard for them. Then there's us who play the games a lot and we get quite good at them. But then sometimes we hear from people who just took the game and took it to another level, and they were like reporting from Rotten Apple being on like wave 60 and probably found all the exploits and all the tricks in the book to push it further on like the hardest difficulty, which is also kind of cool, right? So I think like making a game hard can give it some replay value because it gives you the option to try to beat your last score and like become better at it, and it doesn't get like boring that quickly.
Yeah, there's quite a few difficulty modes in Rotten Apple. I've played the second to hardest. I think I played the hardest as well, and it is quite challenging. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the hardest, what's you really can't take a lot of hits from the zombies, so you need to be very aware of your surroundings and like not let them come even close to you. So it's like punishing. It's not very forgiving. But yeah.
And
So
also the guy that you mentioned is now some kind of a legend, right? Because he made it to wave 16 like the second day of the release or something like that. It was so crazy and also very humbling because we spent hours in that game, and then someone pops out of nowhere and just beats your best score. And yeah.
yeah, I think sorry, go on.
No,
I think everyone wants to hear about Plush Rush. So while Chun asks the questions, I'm going to play everybody a short clip of gameplay so you can actually see the game for the first time ever. So take it away, Mr. Chun, while I play the gameplay.
Of course. Thank you very much. And also great seeing the in-game footages for the first time live on stream. So, how did the concept of this game come along, or how did the idea of this game come to life, basically?
So there's also kind of a funny story behind that. because maybe you imagine that it was more like this whole idea being set up for some time and like planned and prepared, but actually it was like happening overnight, more or less. So we were wrapping up Rotten Apple, and the whole team was meant to start on Monday. And we had obviously a project going, but we kind of felt that there would be a better project or better idea that we could do. So essentially, after some late night brainstorming, this idea came up of like, okay, what if you were like super small in a huge environment, like you were shrunk, similar to Toy Story, and obviously that concept has like been used in movies before or also in some other games, but we have never seen it in a VR game and also never in an arcade game, and we just thought this effect of like being small in a huge world would play really well in VR because of the fact that you're inside the world, not just looking at it. Yeah, and we also were looking at the idea, obviously, from the side of what would be interesting for arcades. So we knew it should be like non-horror because there's like a lot of zombie shooters and dark games already. So yeah, I mean, the amount of zombie shooters on the market is like, you can't, like, there's so many of them. So that's why we came up with Plush Rush. And the original idea was kind of to mix this, being in this toy world, that's just like the setting, right? It's not a game idea yet. And the original idea was to mix this with a tower defense kind of game. So I guess you're probably all aware of tower defense. Enemies coming towards you along some kind of lanes, and you place strategically different kind of towers that have different effects on the enemies, trying to keep them from reaching your base or whatever that is. So kind of that's how it started out. And yeah. Is there like a follow-up question, or should I just...
No, that's okay. I'm not sure if you are also seeing the game footage right now, or if I just, explain
Yeah.
it through our call. But actually, you can see, it's really colorful. You see some different weapons, like a water gun, like a bow and arrow. And just walk us through it a little bit here. What is going on? What is the main goal of the game? Why is it so, colorful and bright? But is it complicated for a new first-time VR player, or how can I imagine this game right now?
Yep. So, I mean, maybe I'll just go on for a bit on how it started, because that would explain it pretty well. So, essentially, from the tower defense idea, we came to think about it as like, okay, how is it going to play out? We knew very early we want to have like 8 players in the game. And how would 8 players together place towers and play a tower defense game, right? And you're also in VR, so you're not like looking down on it like in a classic tower defense. You would be in the game, right? So we shifted to it being like the players are the towers, and the players would have all sort of crazy guns or weapons, which they could switch and use to kind of slow down enemies or stop them. There would be fast guns or slow guns, and with that, the players would become the towers and kind of like defend something from the attackers. So that's the gameplay you saw. And we wanted to make it colorful and bright because it should be for young audience too. And also in our arcade, we have like a lot of mixed groups. So it's like a family, maybe there's a couple kids and their parents, or also kinds of like team events where there's like older, younger people. So we wanted to accommodate all that, and that's why it should be colorful and bright, but also with like a bit of an action twist, so it's not just too childish and too so it would still be a lot going on, action packed, cool. So also the people who are maybe a bit more gamers or whatever would also have fun with it.
Yes. Go.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say, like, the feedback I've had from like arcades in general about from the concept of the game, it was that they're really excited about it, and nobody else has really done this before, and it's going to fill a big gap when it comes to having different ages being able to play together and have fun, basically, for all age varieties.
Yeah, because you do see like there's already quite some games for kids.
Yeah,
but they seem like me, or like I wouldn't want to play them necessarily, because I would feel like, oh, that's for kids, like that's too childish. While obviously, as I said before, there's like so many shooters and especially like zombie shooters or like gory shooters. So yeah, so finding like the sweet spot between those two, that was one of our goals with Plush Rush.
Yes, and as we could saw earlier, we're still in the development process. So maybe you can also share to the audience something that you're working on right now. What will be also implemented in the game? What are you personally looking forward to also make it a part of the game? Is there something you can even share or not?
Mm-hmm. So the game is going to be released very, very soon. So generally, we're like already in the phase where we try not to do too many new things anymore, because that's a mistake that we also did in the beginning. That's, you think like, oh, just one more feature, that would be so cool. And you can do that like all the time, and then you just keep on piling new features onto the game. But there's like a huge tail for every feature that's coming together with, like, you need proper sound for it, you need proper art for it, you need like user interface or like some stuff explaining it to the player too, maybe. You need to integrate it into the game. Then there's like a whole lot of like QA, like quality assurance testing going on. So for all that, a week or even 2 or 3 weeks is not a lot of time, right? So right now we're like in the phase of polishing it, kind of trying to get the last bugs out, making it a smooth experience, hopefully, making the stuff that's now already tested and works also look nice. So a lot of like placeholders being replaced with real art, or like the proper finalized art. Yeah. So that's a bit where we are right now.
Yeah, I played today with I think there was like 6 or 7 of us, and that's the first time I played with a group. I jumped in a couple of times just to get some footage and maybe some screenshots and stuff. But yeah, it was really fun. It's a really good laugh. There's a good variety of weapons, and everyone's got their own kind of avatar. So that's really cool. Where did the ideas come from with the different kind of plushies? Like, for, because you've got like the bear, the rabbit, the cat. Where did those? How did you decide which ones you were going to put in?
I mean, the general idea of using plushes came from our amazing art team, which, they're just doing a great job. And essentially, what you're trying to do in a game is to make it very intuitive to understand the game. So what you, for example, can do is that all the players are plushes, so they're like soft and round, and they're something that children sleep with. It's like it's something that gives comfort, or like it's close to you. While all the enemies are kind of like plastic figures, or like trucks made from plastic or from other materials. So it makes it like very intuitive to understand like who is a player and who is an enemy. So that's where the idea came from with the plushies. And then the different types of them was just, I think the bunny came from a real life plushie that someone on the art team had. And then the other ones were like also, for example, the elephant with like the trunk and the ears came from the idea that we use ragdoll physics. So you just direct kind of the head and the arms, but the rest of the body physics is taking over, and kind of like you would play with a plushie, it would just swing around, right? And so the ears and the trunk of the elephant, they're swinging around throughout the game when you turn around or when you move around. And it's adorable. It looks really funny. And that's where that idea came from.
Okay. And which one's your favorite?
It's hard to say. I really like all of them, actually. So currently we have a bunny, a teddy bear, an elephant, and a cat. And I do actually think that the elephant is my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about the elephant. Same here. There is. The elephant's really cool. Yeah.
I'm a cat person, so I go with the cat.
Should we like put a dog inside the game so cat and dog people can like go crazy?
There is already a dog, right? Basically. Not as a playable character, but Rex from Rotten Apple is also having his second game in a row. It is one of the characters in the game.
He's not just like a military border patrol dog. He's also like sleeping sometimes in a child's bedroom when he's not on shift.
Yeah. Have you thought about maybe like a dinosaur?
As like a player character?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we thought about that. That would be adorable too.
T-Rex with tiny arms so that you cannot
little T-Rex
have weapons.
Right. That's the question, right? Would it look the T-Rex with like long arms, or you could just use your guns like that?
That'd be really funny. Go on, Chan.
Yeah. I mean, developing these kind of games come with their challenges, right? And I'm pretty sure there are some pitfalls that you can try to avoid making these games, and specifically in VR games. So do you have any tips for maybe someone who's listening and also decides to go on the same path as you, or maybe also other studios? What can they do to avoid these pitfalls?
So like for making any VR game in general, or yeah?
I mean, especially for arcade, of course, we are specialized in that part. But I mean, if you also have some general tips, why not just share with us?
Yeah, I mean, in general, the general tip I can just give is that try it out and test it, because there's like so many times where I thought about this is like a great idea, and then you actually do it and it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you think like, I don't have much high hopes in this, but you try it out and then it feels great, right? So when VR started to become like a more mainstream thing, a lot of developers had a lot of experience in classic computer games, were going to VR, and they had like a couple of issues, because there's a couple of things you can't really do that you can do in a normal game, like take away the control of the camera. Maybe there's tricks around it, but like you should use it way more gentle than you would in a normal game, right? Same for camera shakes, or there's just a couple things that are not possible or you would do differently. And then they kind of had to learn that, while now that's like already good common knowledge, and I think like a lot of people already there's like templates, people know how to do that. But then in the details, it's always just try it out because you can't really tell if it's going to work or not before you try it out. And while you're trying it out, sometimes it gives you like new inspiration to go even further and try out new things. So yeah, and generally in software development, I would say, again, testing is like super important. Both like just for bugs, but also for play testing, where you give people your game, you just watch them play and you just see what's not working. And like, for example, today I had someone play Plush Rush next to me and I just watched him. And he was like struggling with reloading, and I could barely watch it because I know it in and out, right? So, but I never have problems anymore with reloading because I know how it works, how it should work. I did it so many times, and that person just has never done it before, so he can't know. And like, there's literally nothing more valuable than just watching someone else play your game and learning from that. Like,
Yeah, this is still the reload's quite easy though. Like just put your gun down right as well to your side and it reloads. Yeah, because it needs to be like that for, like we said, the first people that just visit an arcade and maybe never tried VR before, and it's really good that it's a pick up and play kind of game, and there's not a steep learning curve like you said. So yeah, that I feel that there's a really good job done on that side of things. Because I literally just went in and just started playing. There's a really quick tutorial, and it's pretty simple, but the gameplay's really fun, especially with other people.
Yeah, and that's also something that we learned over time, that in the beginning, for example, for Rotten Apple, we had a more manual reload process, and that was pretty fast. After we sent it out to first arcades, it came back that it's like too complex for their players, and that it had issues with like cables that they had on their, sometimes from their backpack or from their like wireless headset, that they just wanted it to be simple. So that's when we switched to the pointing at the floor to reload. And yeah, and we stuck with that because it's like, also, for example, Pistol Whip, it's like a great game. It's super simple. It gives you this arcade, old school arcade kind of vibes. But then it's not about how do I perfectly manually reload, and do I go with my controller to the right location to grab a magazine and then to the right location to put it into the gun, and maybe I don't hit it immediately. And I mean, I'm not saying there's not a space for those game or that mechanic if it's done well, but especially for arcades, it's just great to have this like quick, and it does the job because you just want to break the shooting for a second. You want to balance it out, right? You want to be able to say, this gun shoots really fast, but then it has maybe less bullets in a magazine, so you're stopped at some point. And you need this quick break of like not being able to just shoot non-stop to be able to put it down the gun for a second and put it up again and continue. So it has a lot of the functionality of the other style of reloading, but with a lot less of complexity. And that's like a lot of our development is figuring out how can we have the functionality, how can we make the game work on a game design level, while also keeping it so simple that you can learn it in like 5 minutes or less. And it was also, for example, John, you asked me about what are the pitfalls. I would say one of them is also put a lot of text in your game and nobody's gonna read it. Like, we had these floating billboards floating around the player, like always in their sight, telling them what to do, and people were like stuck and like calling our game master like what should we do now, we're stuck. And it's like there's literally a floating billboard in front of their head telling them what to do, but people hate to read.
Yeah, and
they're also obviously absorbed by being in VR because it's maybe their first time in VR, and it's like, wow, I'm in this other world, what the fuck. And so then they don't want to read the text. And that's also why for Plush Rush we switched to videos. because even especially probably the young audience are used to like short videos from their social media. No, so it's like we are just, that's why it works so well. We are like, it's moving picture, it catches our attention because whatever moves catches our attention. It's like very easy to understand a concept when you see a picture or a video of it, when sometimes you need a lot of words to explain it. So yeah, that was also one of the learnings.
I think we're just on the topic of the, unique selling points of a game. And I wanted to ask you, what are the unique selling points of Plush Rush? So for me, especially, I really love the UFO that is in the game, the gravity changes and the weapons behave in a completely different way. I love that kind of stuff. But for you, what are the unique selling points of the game that you're now making?
Yeah. So there's a couple of them, and I'm happy to kind of go through them. So first up, it's an 8-player game. So it's great for all the occasions where there's a lot of people that want to do something together. And we also had, in our arcade, we had teams calling us like, we want to play here. And then we told them that they can't be 8 players in one game together. And then they were like, oh no, then we don't want to do it. So in those occasions, with Plush Rush, you can be like, of course, you need to have 8 VR headsets in your arcade, but then you can be, yes, you can come, you can all play together. You can have this one group experience where nobody needs to sit outside and wait. And so that's one of the unique aspects of Plush Rush. Then we mentioned it before that it's made for mixed groups, so like young and old, people who are maybe less interested in shooters, but it still has this action element. So it's really intended to hit this sweet spot between, so that a diverse group can all come together and have fun in the game. Yeah, and not just geared to a very specific hardcore audience that wants all the way this or all the way that direction. Yeah. Then we also offer the stuff we already did with Rotten Apple before, that the arcades can control the duration, they can control the difficulty from outside the game. So you can adjust it to, maybe you have 15-minute slots, maybe you have 30-minute slots, maybe you want to have 1-hour slots. That's all possible. And the game will adjust so that the players will have like the optimal experience during that time. And in the end, it will end smoothly. You don't need to pull them out of their headsets and be like, okay, you're in the middle of the play, but now it's stopped. The next group is here. Like, you need to get out. So the game masters don't have that awkward kind of interaction. It's never nice, right? And yeah, changing difficulty, that's just great. If you have a team that's coming back that's more experienced, or a team that's total newbies, you can just adjust it to them. Then there's also no menus in the game, or like a minimal amount. So players can't really get lost in the settings, or in like, they can't accidentally quit or like do stuff they're not intended to, or you don't need to explain to them how to get into the game. Yeah, it just happens. They're just in the game. Then everything is tutorialized in the first couple minutes of the game. Like I said before, like there's those short video clips that show you how to do the most important things, like reload, pick your gun, move around, and that's it. Yeah. Then one more feature we're pretty excited about, and we haven't talked to anyone about this yet, is the birthday feature. So that's going to be an option that you can also toggle from outside the game as the game master. And if it's a birthday party happening, then the game is going to be themed that way. So there's going to be elements in the level that, like balloons or a cake, that just make it a special experience for the birthday person. So we haven't seen that around yet on any other games, and we think then Plush Rush is going to be a good choice for anyone who wants to have a birthday party in a VR arcade. And I mean, that's some of the unique selling points of Plush Rush, I would say.
Yeah, that's pretty unique. It's a really cool idea, the birthday thing, because a lot of arcades have birthday parties. And again, it's 8 players, and having that as a feature that arcades can mention to people that are looking to book a party, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, or like even on the website, just having a way, like what an arcade wants is to optimize the playtime, right? You don't want to have a huge arcade, you pay the rent every month, and then there's nobody coming to play. So the more you can show on your website that you're perfect for this event or that event, and like a bachelor's party and like a birthday and whatnot, the more you can potentially fill it up by those groups just Googling like, what am I going to do on this event, right? So, and yeah, we hope that Plush Rush can offer that to arcades. Yeah.
Nice. Do you know what what headsets it's going to support?
Yeah, of course. So it's gonna support the standard headsets pretty much. So it's still gonna run through SteamVR. And so essentially we test every day with the Quest 2. It's also gonna support Quest 3. The older Quests. Then we test with like the Vive Focus 3 through Vive Business Streaming. Then we have the Valve Index and the HTC Vive Pro. Yeah, those are pretty much the headsets we can say that we support out of the box. I don't know, did I forget anything, John? Correct me. No?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it also works on the Pico 4, but officially we do not have the support yet, but it kind of still works, so that's also good to know.
Yeah, sometimes we have customers coming back like, yeah, we tested it on this and this headset and it works. And we're like, cool. Like, we haven't had the time yet to actually properly like test it ourselves, but even better. Like, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've had some arcades that have because there's certain headsets that we don't officially support, but there's other arcades that were like, we'll give it a go, and they do come up with workarounds and make it work. It's really cool because once they're experienced with their headset not supporting certain games, I think they find ways to get around it. So
yeah, that's also pretty cool.
Yeah.
And on topic of the arcades, where can the arcades play this game? Are there platforms that Plush Rush will be on?
All right. I mean, I really hope that I'm not forgetting anyone, but we are all major platforms like RVVR, Springboard VR, Synthesis VR, Viveport, and then we're gonna be available on Delusion and we are constantly talking to more platforms about the integration if they wanna have us on their platform. So yeah.
Nice.
And if you are unsure about some platform that you're using or you would like Plush Rush, of course, just reach out to us. Maybe we already are on that platform or we are gonna talk to them.
Okay.
Is it also possible to get it directly from you?
We do also offer direct licenses too, yeah.
Nice. And do you know, can you say, I know you said soon, when it will be releasing, do you have a time frame at least in mind?
Yep. So the time frame is going to be first half of November.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to get more specific than that right now. But yeah, so I mean, it's already pretty soon. So
yeah, 1 month away. So that's really exciting, and It's been really fun playing it today as well with more players. It is really good fun game. Do you have any more questions, Mr. Chan?
Actually, yes, I have
Okay.
one more.
Oh, awesome.
For everyone listening and not being part of this whole arcade world, can they also play the game at home over Steam or any other platform?
So unfortunately, right now we don't have any plans right now to launch it to Steam or like to the home market. Yeah, mostly because of like what I talked about before, that it's really made with arcades in mind. And it's just hard to make two very different customers happy at the same time. Yeah. But obviously, if there's like a lot of interest and it performs really well, well, who knows what's gonna happen, right?
Never say never. I like that.
Never say never.
Yeah, because Rotten Apple's available in arcades and on Steam as well, isn't it? So.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was also a considerable effort to make it like work for home users who do have like a bunch of like, okay, what's really good for arcades is, for example, to have no menus in the game. And what's really bad for a home game is to have no menus in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's kind of what we learned. Yeah.
Okay, so it's possible. People just need to show interest, I guess. And if you are interested, let us know in the comments as well. If you have any other questions, let us know in the comments, and then someone will get back to you and let you know if we can answer that at this point in time. And just wanted to say thank you, Simon, for coming on and sharing your background and how it's been like making Plush Rush. It's really exciting times at the moment.
Well, thanks a lot for having me and for that I could talk so much about Plush Rush and what we do here. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. It's been really great insight into how a VR game is made, and for arcades especially. And Mr. Chun, thank you very much for co-hosting, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being part of this great podcast. And hopefully we will see Simon next year with a new creative game. So,
Yeah.
And fingers crossed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you everyone for watching. If you, like I said, if you do have any questions, just ask in the comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Cheers. Thank you, guys.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.